Now we'll work on the basic connections of our right arm. We can start by working on the IK handle. Okay, so we're going to want to select our arm and make sure that that will be applied. With it selected, we'll hit F, find the bones that we'll need to connect. Again, that's first from our arm to the twist, and then we move the effector right to the wrist. And that run too. Wow, I'm on a roll. Well, getting right back to it, let's go ahead and start. We'll go from our arm and we'll control click the wrist. Great, now that we have our IK, we can give it a name, RP underscore R underscore arm 01. With that now there, of course we need to bring it over to our wrist, so we show our hypershade for that. The hypershade there, we go ahead and show our input output connection, select our effector, go to our move tool, move its pivot right over to where the wrist lies, and hit insert. Great, so now we can close out our hypershade, test out our IK. Good, good. It's moving nice. With it there, of course, we're going to need it underneath the proper group. So with it selected, we will control click our IK's group. There it is. Great, so now that that is hooked up, again, we also need to make sure that we hook up our arm. Okay, remember that needs to be point constrained right to our shoulder. So with our shoulder end bone selected, we can find that as well. There it is. So that's going to be selecting our shoulder end bone and control clicking our BN arm, selecting that, and going to constrain and doing a point constraint. Now, when this happens with this constraint, I do want to also mention that when, let's say, you're binding your character, normally what you would do if you were to test the bind first before building the controls, is what we kind of done here. What you can do is change the prefix of your constraints to something like CONSTR, just so that you know it's a constraint, but it also helps for when wanting to filter out all of the bones that start with BN. Because as we explained in the quad kit, it's a quick way to select all of the bones that you'll apply to the bind of your character is by giving them a prefix of what will be bound. So BN for all the bound bones, BE for all the end bones in the chain that won't be bound. So what you can do is go to your selection filter, you can type in BN, and you'll be able to grab all of the bones that you'll need to have affecting your mesh. So that's just a quick tip. Okay, so we have our shoulder now connected as needed. We got our arm following. What's next? Well, that is going to be our elbow preserve bone. Okay, so we know that we need to parent constrain it right to our right to the arm bone. So we'll go to the elbow preserve just to find that. There it is. So now we can select our arm bone, control click our right elbow preserve that doesn't have the constraint yet, and do our parent constraint. So what's next after that? Next we need to go to our expression editor, and we need to go to our elbow relative script. We could just copy this line, copy, go one line underneath, paste, and all we should need to do is switch this L to an R for both, so that when we go ahead and hit edit, everything will work correctly. We can close out our expression editor and test it out, going to our IK, moving it, and looking at our elbow. Great, now it's moving just as it needs to. Okay, so we're moving right along. We can go ahead and apply our constraint, select our control first, followed by our IK, go to constraint and do point constraint. Great, so now that's hooked up. We select our elbow control, shift select our IK handle, go to constraint and do a pole vector constraint. Test it out. Working just fine. Great. Alright, and of course we do have our forearm twist as well as our wrist to hook up, so we can go to the wrist. We'll select our control followed by our hand control, making sure the hand is selected. Go to constraint, do our parent constraint, test it out. Wonderful, wonderful. It's waving at you. Okay, so Now that that has been done, we set up our forearm twist. And of course, we can go right back to our expression editor, go to our forearm twist, copy the line, and paste. Switch the L to an R, and hit edit. Okay, so now when we move our control, we should get the results we're looking for. Yes, a nice fall off in our forearm twist. Okay, so with all of these things done, again, we could also double check to make sure everything is within the group that it needs to be in the group. Okay, and it sure is. Everything's clean. We can test out our scale. Everything's moving just the way we need it to. Okay, he's rotating. All right, great. Moving around. Wonderful. Okay, so with all of these things done, that finishes off the basic setup of both our left and right arms. So our next tasks are going to be to make sure we set up that stretch on the arm, as well as setting up a switch to turn that on and off. So that's what we're going to be working on starting in the next lesson.